Imagine living in a world where being single is illegal, and if you don't find a partner in 45 days, they turn you into a lobster. No, really, that's the plot of the movie. No cap. Alright, time to find out what this lobster movie is about. It starts out super weird with a woman driving out to some field and clapping a horse. What? Don't tell me that horse used to be a human being or something. I am not prepared for that. Anyway, in the next scene, a dude's life is falling apart because his wife has just cheated on him with another man. Shortly after he has the conversation with his wife, whom we do not see by the way, some guy comes and escorts him into a windowless van. Okay. At the destination, he undergoes this weird interview that feels like you're applying for a job at Tinder. Our dude David is quite handsome. I have to give him that. I'm just not quite sure what this whole business is about, but the woman he meets at the reception sounds quite pleasant, which means that whatever is going on at this hotel cannot be pleasant. I've already heard stuff like making it through, hunting, can't take any of your personal belongings. So by my deduction, this could be some kind of Hunger Games romantic type thing. Everything is just super weird, including the room he's assigned. Outside of this window, David sees unconscious bodies on the ground. These are the bodies of loners that were captured by guests of the hotel. Okay, what the actual heckaroni? Anyway, the next morning, the hotel manager comes to debrief our guy. So what happens in this weird hotel is that you have to fall in love with someone in your time there, which is 45 days, or you'll be turned into an animal. They say it's supposed to be your second chance at finding love. What? Why would anyone want to try something as scary as this? Falling in love, that is. For whatever reason though, David is here and the animal he has chosen to be, should he end up a loner, is a lobster, because according to him, they live long, are blue-blooded like aristocrats, and stay fertile all their lives. The hotel manager's response makes me so uneasy. First, she congratulates him for picking an unusual animal, and then she says that most people choose dogs, which is why the world is full of them, and few people choose rare animals, which is why many of them are endangered. Well, guess what? The dog our guy has is his brother, Bob, who was also a guest of the hotel at one time. This is also freaking weird. Before the hotel manager and her entourage leave, they cuff one of David's hands to remind him why 2 is better than 1. The next day, David goes down to the restaurant to get breakfast. The dining area is split into 2 parts, a side for couples and the other side for single Pringles like our guy. How much more classist can you get, right? At the dining area, he meets these 2 guys, John with a limp and Robert with a lisp. Like our guy, John still has one of his hands cuffed to his back. Robert though has both hands free, so I guess David and John are both fresh meat. Later that day, there's a kind of assembly for all the guests of the hotel, where the new guests get to share their story of what brought them into the hotel. And then at night, there's a dance. During the dance, David walks up to this lady, who's always getting these irritating nosebleeds, and asks for a dance. She obliges and immediately proceeds to sprinkle blood on his white shirt. Then she goes on to rattle off different methods of getting blood from a shirt in the most robotic voice. I think she might have been a killer in her past life. Anyway, right after the dance, an alarm goes off. It's time for the hunt. All the guests are shipped off to the woods with their tranquilizers to go hunt down the loners, who have a community there. For every loner each guest captures, they get an extension of their stay in the hotel by 1 day. So not surprisingly, once there, everyone starts to run like crazy into the woods, hoping to get at least 1 loner. Lol, imagine that actually happened in real life. I know so many people would be hunted down on day 1. At the end of the hunting session, David isn't able to capture any loners, and so the number of days he has left remains unchanged. Meanwhile, the hotel has really weird rules. For instance, having your hand as a girlfriend is not allowed, but guests are supposed to be clapped by the hotel maid, and they can't say no. I'm not making this up. How does that even make sense? The hotel manager says it's supposed to help motivate you to find a partner better. Well, I guess I kinda get where that is coming from, but still, guess what happens if you break the rules and become really good friends with your right hand? They fry your hand in a freaking toaster oven. Is this purgatory or what? One night they go hunting again, and David sits next to this woman who looks butter biscuits. She seems to have a thing for him and extends her offer for sussy favors, but David doesn't seem interested, so he turns her down. Cue Sigma male music and facial expressions. Anyway, the lady is desperate though. Her time in the hotel is running out and she hasn't got any loners, nor has she found a mate. She declares that if she doesn't get herself a mate soon, she'll jump out of her room window and clap herself. And not in the fun way. One day at the pool, John meets the girl with the nosebleeds. He seems to have a thing for her and tries to make her acquaintance. He has come with a trick up his sleeve though, to make sure she fancies him too. The psycho hit his head so he could also get a nosebleed. This way, they could both have something in common, and the girl could vibe with him, and they could become a couple and stuff. I mean, I kinda get it because the other options on the table aren't exactly great. But still, man, you've gotta admit that it's a tad bit psycho. Also, what if she finds out that you're lying? Anyway, John and his nosebleed girlfriend are announced as a couple during one of the hotel's dances. First, they will be moved to the couple's quarters for 2 weeks, and then from there, to a yacht for another 2 weeks, after which they might return as a couple. But here's the crazy part. The hotel manager announces that their relationship will be monitored, which isn't the weird part because this hotel is psycho. But she also says that if they encounter encounter any problem, the couple will be assigned children because that usually helps. Excuse me, when have children ever helped a failing marriage? No disrespect to kids, but they've ruined even happy marriages more times than they've helped failing ones. Pretty sure that's what I did to my mom and dad. That's why dad left for milk. Of course, it's not that the kids themselves are bad, but if two people are not agreeing, bringing kids won't automatically make them friends. It only makes things worse. And then the kids suffer in the end. Okay, therapy session over. Meanwhile, David's days at the hotel are counting down, so he decides to take his chances with one of the ladies at the facility, the one everyone is calling the Heartless One. The self-deletion of the Butter Biscuits woman gives him the perfect opportunity. He tells the Heartless Woman that he hopes the Butter Biscuits woman dies slowly and pathetically. That piques her curiosity, and she invites David to have a chat with her later. One day at the jacuzzi, David gets talking with her. Well, it isn't much of a conversation because she mostly ignores his existence and chews on her olives. Shortly after she puts an olive in her mouth, she begins to choke, but David looks on like there's nothing to see until she's seemingly his rip in peace. Before you say David is heartless too, turns out the psycho woman was only testing him when David does not appear to be moved by her fake death. She declares them a match, and they're set to begin their month-long romantic trial. Now this is going to be something. Their courtship is the stiffest I've ever seen. Everything is so mechanical and robotic. But to be fair, everyone in this hotel has a bit of that mechanical quirk. It's not exactly overt, but it's there somewhat. Kind of like Mark Zuckerberg. One morning, the Heartless Woman wakes him up with some devastating news that she has clapped his brother in a slow and painful death. This woman is completely crazy. She leaves the dog lying in a pool of its own juices. There's spaghetti juice everywhere in the bathroom, and when David sees everything, he can't hold his emotions. That's when she confirms her suspicion all along that David wasn't the heartless psychopath he claimed to be. She moves to make a report to the hotel manager about David's fraud, a crime for which he'd be turned into an animal no one wants to be. As they're going to the manager's office though, David breaks free and escapes from the Heartless Woman. He then works with one of the maids in the hotel to tranquilize the Heartless Woman and turn her into an unspecified animal. Why is this maid working for David? Does she like him? Well, I guess we'll find out soon. After dealing with the Heartless Woman, David escapes from the hotel and into the woods to live as a loner. He joins the loner community, and these ones have their own rules as well. There's no escaping the weird worlds of this movie, is there? Anyway, although there's no limit to the length of time a loner can stay with the loner community in the woods, loners can never be in a romantic relationship or even flirt with another loner. Anyone who tries to pair with another loner would be punished, and these guys are so inventive with the kind of punishments they give, from the red kiss to the red sussy time, each one more creative than the last. On his very first day in the woods, David catches the attention of a woman who's also short-sighted like him. Trouble! Meanwhile, in the woods, David finds Robert doing his hunting rounds. Robert has just 2 days left, so he wants to capture David. Friendship be damned. While David is still making his case, the short-sighted girl shoots Robert from behind. This begins the secret, not to mention dangerous relationship between the two. By the way, remember that maid that helped David? Turns out she's actually a mole for the loners, and they're planning this big secret operation to sabotage the hotel. Anyway, back to David and his secret girlfriend. One of these days, the loners go out on a covert mission where David and his secret girlfriend are supposed to act like husband and wife. Obviously, it's fun for them, but the leader of the loner community seems to be picking up on the fact that they are having too much fun with it. I feel like this could land them in trouble when they get back from their undercover mission. But let's watch and see, yeah? On the day of the loners operation, each one is assigned to different rooms with tranquilizer guns. David asks to be assigned to the yacht so that he can be the one to attend to his friend, John. When he gets to John's room, he spills John's secret to his partner and then leaves the couple to pick up the pieces of their already fractured relationship. At the hotel manager's room, the leader of the loners gets the hotel manager's husband to shoot his wife. Turns out the gun isn't loaded, but now they've both got to live with the fact that he would have shot her, which is a recipe for divorce, obviously. So I guess that's the loner's mission: destroy any couple and create more loners. Back in the woods, David's relationship with his secret girlfriend is getting stronger. They even dance one day, and apparently they even clap. Moving on, this community is quite loose with the rules, I must say. But the lovers are not stupid. They know they still have to be careful, so they develop gestural codes to communicate, even while in the midst of everybody. But you know how love can make you stupid. So one day, while on an undercover mission, the two lovebirds start full on getting close in front of everybody. It's the stupidest move ever, and it puts the eyes of the leader on them. One day, the leader of the loners finds David's girlfriend's journal. The journal outlines the couple's plans to abscond from the community and start a new life in the city. After the leader finds out, she gets David to dig his own grave. Don't worry, it's something all the members of the community have to do, not a punishment. Doesn't make it less weird, I know, but I just thought you should know. Anyway, the leader isn't done with her plans. The next day, she takes David's girlfriend to a doctor in the city under the guise of helping to fix her short-sightedness. But guess what? It's actually a surgery to blind her. What the? When they get back to the woods, David's now blind girlfriend informs him that she's been recently blinded in the city by their leader. Bummer. They secretly continue their relationship regardless, but things are kinda strained now because they no longer have their short-sightedness in common. David hatches a plan to ensure they stay together forever though. He just needs to find the right time. The right time finally comes one evening. Creeping from behind, David overpowers their leader and throws her into a shallow grave, abandoning her for the wild dogs to feast on her. Meanwhile, he grabs his girlfriend and gets the heck out of the woods and into the city. It's not exactly easy with the lady being blind, and with him wearing ill-fitting trousers, but they make it. Once in the city, they stop at a restaurant. David then orders a steak knife, but there's nothing on his table. So guess what he wants to do? If you said he's going to blind himself so they have something in common, you're absolutely absolutely right. That's precisely what he wants to do. I mean, in one weird way of looking at things, you could say it's sweet. But man, this is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Thankfully, they don't exactly show David gouging out his eyes, which is great, because I mean, nobody wants to see that. Who wrote this film? And more importantly, why? Moral of the story? Lobster game.